Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching Street Fighter 6 at FGC Meetups 94. My name is Seth Mitchell, and I'm joined by my homie Zaidi. Zaidi, congratulations for winning yet another FGC Meetups here at Street Fighter 4, and I have a lot of questions, not going to lie, to ask you. Because, I mean, I make the top 4 graphic, we post the results and stuff, and it's almost consistently you, if not first, like, in the top 4, right?
Yep.
And we're in this era... like the whole reason we're doing the Destination Combo Breaker thing is essentially to give unsponsored players the opportunity to like compete on the big stage or like help boost them, like kind of be a sponsorship in a way. And with the players consistent as you here at this local, like what keeps you from wanting to pursue that kind of status as a player, like beyond the local? Like you are good at the games that you play because you're also accomplishing this. You play Dragon Ball exceptionally well, especially here. What is it that like keeps you from wanting to pursue not necessarily career, but like really lean into being a professional player?
I get what you're saying. Honestly, the thing is, so I've been competing since 2016, and like I took a like long break like during like COVID and stuff. So I've been until like I started coming out in 2023, like I basically wasn't like playing offline anymore. But for me, it's because like I was doing my education around the time I started competing, and then by the time I finished and I came back in the FGC, I was already like a full-time like salary person.
Okay.
So for me, like I feel like having this as like a side thing was just always, I just had a lot more fun with it because of that. I feel like if I made it a profession, it just kind of takes away from it a bit. Because it's like something I learned over the years, just a bit of like just life bit too, is like anything that you make your job, it can get tedious. Even if you really love it, you can love it, but it's like, for me, like fighting games, like I love them so much, but I'm like, oh, I don't want to make that, you know, my thing that I just do.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just feel like I have other prospects and other things, so it's just, I just genuinely enjoy it as kind of like you know, coming to locals a couple times a month and like just playing at regionals, like bigger major events and stuff, and just trying my best. Just something about it just always like, it gave me a nice like balance in my life. That felt like I was lacking before I was in the FGC, along with like fitness and stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of what it is for me. It's like one of like many things I just kind of I'm into. So not many, but like one of the things I'm into that takes a lot of my time. That I focus on. But yeah, just I guess the full like jump into it, like I just never did it because of that, like for the most part. So
it's kind of like the part of being a professional player where you have to like market yourself and stream and like really try to like pitch yourself and your identity to other like organizations. Like you're not about trying to make it like that.
I feel like I play fighting, like I play fighting games for the community aspect and the games. And then everything else to me is like, it's cool. Like other people do it, but it's like, it's not as much for me. I feel like, because like I'll stream, like there was a joke we used to have like way back. Like I used to stream like once a year. Like just as like, it's like, I'm not like a streamer or anything like that. So for me, it's like when I stream, it's just, you know, my homies hop in the chat and we're just kind of chopping it up, you know, and like I'm just gaming and talking about the game, we're talking about life and stuff. So then for me, because like I just was never super into that stuff, it just, I could never really like, you know, push myself towards it. Like towards like sponsorship, like people have asked me about that before, and I'm just like, I don't know. I kind of like the salary man playing fighting games on the side, like you know, like Nemo was like that for like way back. Like I know he's like a professional as of like I think the past few years, but like before it's like, you know, he's out like Alienware, Square Enix and stuff, and just like out here getting like top 3 at Capcom Cup, like you know what I mean, like casually. So.
Well then, okay, so like what would happen? Say for example, you were to go to Combo Breaker there, because I'm pretty sure like. You won the destination tour for Frosty Faustings that we did earlier this year, and we sent you to that. You're probably, I have to run the numbers, but it looks like you're already like qualified for the destination because we have one more event, but I think that no one can really overtake you. So you go to Combo Breaker. What happens when you get like top 8?
Man, I'm going to pop off.
Yeah, I know.
Hard.
You'll pop up like crazy, but what happens when people, like, look, oh, who's a Zaidi guy, you know? Like, how are you going to feel if that happens?
I mean, I feel like the spotlight aspect of fighting games, like, when I do, like, well and stuff, never really, like, pay heed to it ever. Like, I'm always very, like, you know, I have, like, my people I'm close to, we have our people here at the locals and stuff. So, you know, for me, it's like other people, like, know me, and they're like, I've had people in Dragon Ball a lot of times be like, oh, like, you're Zaidi. And I'm like, Like, yeah, and they'd be like, oh, I'm a huge fan of like your Zamasu or something. I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, I appreciate, genuinely, I really appreciate stuff like that. But I guess it's just I don't think about it that much, you know? Just kind of like, because that stuff, I feel like when you're like good at the games in any like profession or like any profession in general, it's like that stuff just comes, you know? But it's like, I guess I never really thought of like it as, you know, I want that out of it. So I'm like, yo, I'm just here to play and just do my best.
Well, like you said, it's like it's more for the community part.
Exactly.
It's less about the attention, less about the accolades, but more for just like, I just want to play with my homies and do well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because I've been playing fighting games for like years, and like I love fighting games. I've played a ton of different fighting games, as you guys know. So it's like, I'm just trying to take that, like the years of experience and just like knowledge I've accumulated over time. And just like, just take it to further heights, you know what I mean? Because like for me, it's like, I can get top 8s at super majors. Like I'm at the skill level where I know I can do that in a lot of the games I play. So I'm like, I just gotta get that last nil, not get that 9th. You know, like for Combo Breaker this time, like I'm gonna do Dragon Ball and Street Fighter. So I'm gonna go for both, man.
So then, what does like the Zaidi training sessions look like? Because I mean, like you consistently win here, you consistently perform in Dragon Ball as well. Like, what does your day-to-day look like when it comes to Street Fighter and Dragon Ball?
Dragon Ball, to be honest, I haven't played it since October. So I can't.
Well, I remember you took the break.
But when I did, like to get to the skill level I'm at in the game, for sure, it's one of the main things actually I always tell people is don't play every day actually. So you can consume the game in different ways. I always say play the game a couple times a week and watch the game. Watching the game to me is just about as important as playing, because I think what happens with a lot of players, like across different games, I've run into people having the same issue in like every game they play, where it's like they just go on like the rank grind, and then like they get better, and then they hit a plateau at a certain point. Like, yo, I don't know what to do now. And then like I'll watch them play, and they'll ask me for like feedback on their set. I'll be like, okay, your flow charting and these interactions are on defense. You're always picking this option. I'm like, do you notice that? They're like, no. And I'm like, see, this is why you gotta watch. You gotta watch your own footage, but also watch like top players, obviously, because a lot of the things I do, I got from watching better players. Dragon Ball especially, like a lot of just like the way like I move in the game, the way like I handle like knockdowns, the stuff I pick on defense. It's very much like I see what the best players do, and I'm like, and I try to dissect like why did they pick that decision instead of like what I would normally do. You know what I'm saying? And then I feel like that's when you have like a combination of like practicing, like, you know, online queue, playing sets, of course, with other people, right? Like you have training partners, obviously add people up too. Like netcodes are so good nowadays that like you can play with people like across the country without any problems. Is that, and then like watching, and definitely just I think studying the game too in general, just kind of like filling up knowledge gaps, labbing. Like you have to lab, like, you know what I mean? Like people say like, oh, there's not as much to lab in like modern fighting games, which I'm like, sure, but I see,
I don't know about that.
I see a lot of people get knowledge checked constantly by things, so I'm like, you're missing things clearly.
Okay, so
like,
then if you're speaking to as a salaryman to another salaryman or woman, like you say a lot of it is absorbing the game, watching the game, and analyzing yourself in the way that you play. Of course, like play it a couple times a day, of course, lab. But like for the person that's kind of like your everyday person, they watch TNS every week. Maybe they even watch FGC Meetups. What kind of things would you ask them to look at when they're trying to study a top player's character that they play or their own play? Like what kind of things are you telling them to look for?
So the main things I think is always, this applies in every fighting game. How did neutral end? Like, first of all, right?
Okay.
Like, that's something I say in every game. Like in Dragon Ball, like Inzem, like he's one of the best players in the world in that game. He had a video about it where he talked about, he's like, watch back your footage, or like when you're watching other people, see like, oh, why'd they get put in block stun, or why'd they get hit? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it was a guess situation. Like, oh, there's guess around the throw. I'm like, okay, but how did they get hit to get put in the corner for them to run Oki on you, right?
Yes.
So then I feel like it's breaking that down, because people really undervalue the neutral aspect of fighting games, because they talk about it a lot, but they don't focus on it as much. Because it's kind of like, well, if I get my perfect in this game, right? Like if you get perfect career back throw, you're just throw looping them then, right? And you can win off that, which is true. But what if that doesn't work? The rounds where someone like, if you play like someone like Dual Kevin, like phenomenal, one of the best players in the world, right? Mid-best finest, like even like when he, like the way he'd play, I remember I talked to my Frosty, I was saying, hey, like, how do you kind of approach like layer one offense against like, you know, just like in pools and just people you don't know? And then we're talking about like throw loops, like that was like the obvious one, and I'm like, okay, like I got that. But then also I was like, hey, like I feel like you stagger your pressure really often and then you back up instead of like continuing. Because what happens is a lot of people, because of how good parry is, people will do like a plus button, and then they'll walk up and they'll hit it again, and they'll keep trying to like get that hit or throw them, but then they'll get mashed out on a lot of times, or they'll get perfect parried and they'll lose. And it's like, for when you see situations like that, you have to like realize, like, okay, I got to back up here and bait out the options and then beat those. Then when they're sitting still, I can go for my offense more, because offense in this game outside of throws isn't that strong. Yeah. Like strikes themselves are like pretty weak, unless like they hit, of course. Like you got level 3, you just die in this game. Yeah, right. Of course. But yeah, like I think it's definitely just like it's critiquing like round 1 fight. Yeah. Someone gets hit or someone get put in blocks. What happened? Even if it's low forward driver's jab. Yeah. You have to think about that. Yeah. Because the thing is, for example, that like a simple answer, which like this is a guess technically, is if someone has low forward drive rush, you can guard cancel it, like drive reversal, and beat it. You can't do it on reaction. So if you block the low forward and they don't cancel it, you get punished. But if someone's fighting majority of the player base who is always buffering the cancel, that's going to work on most people. You lose 2 bars, they lose 3. Yeah. And then depending on the character, you get Oki or you go back to neutral. And so you're already winning in the resource management aspect of the game. So, and like I feel like that's like super undervalued, because people always like boil it down to like low forward drive rush, they got thrown and then throw loops and it's over. I'm like this game, like what I say, like I feel like there's like 10 players in the world who are like insanely consistent and like they're the GOATs at the game. And I feel like outside the game, like it is inconsistent for sure, but like they're definitely doing things that are different from other players. Of course. You know what I mean? Like when like Big Bird won Red Bull Kumite, I was studying, like we're talking about watching I was just studying his footage over the past week as well. Like how he fought like Kills Use Mai, how he fought Ending Walker's Ryu, like just all like Kusanagi's Ryu, like all that stuff. Like what I was saying, like just I'm absorbing like the information and kind of like because every time I see him play like at a major event, he does like different things. Like he's not always approaching matchups the same way. Like that's more like, you know, Rashid as a character can do that too. Yeah. But then also like I feel like that like development as a player and like where you take your character comes from that. Like you can't just have like your one game plan and it's like, okay, this works, and then like you drown in pools at a major and you're like, oh well, what am I supposed to do here? So I'm like, okay, I'm like, okay, you got to like refine what you're doing, and you got to see. Also, a really important thing I'll say, like this is for anyone, even if you're like, whether you're professional or like, you know, a salary person on the side, is that like, when it comes to like decision making in the game, oh my God, it literally left me. I was saying it, I was just thinking it, and then left me, because it's something really important. It was about like good and bad decisions I was thinking about. Like for example, like let's say like you do bad, right? Like you drown in pools, and then you'll be like, oh, the game's random and stuff. You have to know how to fight bad players. Oh, yeah. I keep telling people this.
That's like, it's very digestible in Street Fighter, right? Yeah. Because people will be like, in the mechanics kind of play to that too, because like all the random DIs and like you have so many different like random just raw drive rushes and stuff like that, right? And so a lot of times tap parry, perfect parries and shit like that. Like people can kind of get overwhelmed with how many things that they're supposed to look out for. Exactly. And that can be like, oh, Street Fighter 6 is just a game for scrubs. You know what I'm saying? There's just so many. So it's very interesting that you say that like the offense in this game, while it does seem overwhelming in a lot of cases, and especially like a lot of players will watch it and they'll say that. Yeah. For you to say like it's not that strong unless you get hit, because it still very much is like you said, you have to focus a lot on the neutral and like how interactions begin. And I think that, like you said, that also applies to a broad amount of fighting games, if not all fighting games. Yeah. But definitely this one. I think that Street Fighter 6 is, even though they added a lot of different mechanics and a lot of different tools, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a more aggressive Street Fighter.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It can allow you to like just pull more apart to bring it to the neutral, and I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like for example, people talk about checking drive rushes, right? So that's a like big issue. Obviously, drive rushes are very strong. I'm not saying this to downplay them. They are very strong. They're one of the cornerstones of the game. Like 9 out of 10 things in the game are like designed on drive rush. Like, you know what I mean? Like the combo system, neutral, like everything, plus frames. So like one thing a lot of people struggle with is like they'll stand at like a certain range to check drive rushes, and then they just stay there looking for it, and then someone just does a forward dash or they jump, and then they're deer in headlights because they're like they don't react to the option. I'm like, okay, look, because like Rashid doesn't have like a medium punch, that like a disjoint medium punch, like, you know, like Bison, Akuma and stuff have like like those are very good like driver's checks, right?
Yeah,
like his like from a distance isn't that great, but his thing is like you'll see like Kevin do is like he'll do crouch jab into low forward to punish drivers at close range. If you walk further back, that doesn't work because it'll whiff and they'll punish kind of your button. So at a further range, you have to do stand medium kick. And then what I do a lot is like what I like to do is like I like to go like at the tip of like the like round start range, like where people like to drive rush, and then I just tap back a little. And then they'll whiff their drive rush button.
Okay.
And then I low forward, DR, put them in the corner. And then they're like, oh, my God, Rashid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then they're like, oh, Rashid. And I'm like, that's what? I'll do this with any character to you.
I was going to say, like, I don't think that's one of the things that you can be like Rashid about. Like, until I see a Super 2 on the screen.
When level 2 is out, I'm like, you can complain all you want.
Yeah, complain all you want. Exactly.
But when I peep people in the neutral and they tell me Rashid, I'm like, he's doing the regular meta shit everyone else is doing. That everyone else is picking. So
well, shit. Outside of Dual Kevin showing up whenever he does, like you are the best Rashid in the house, and like it's best in class. I mean, you learn from the best, and hopefully people can 100%. Learn from you. So I really appreciate you constantly winning. Of course, I'm sorry I mixed the shit out of you, but congratulations again. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Zaidi, is Seth Mitchell, of course. I hope you guys have a good night. We'll see you in 2 weeks on the Tekken 8 stream at FGC Meetups 95. See you guys.
Take it easy, y'all.